So today we're going to be taking a look at how to install the Bitwarden password management solution on Linux Ubuntu 20.04 LTS. So I'm just going to be using the Amazon lifestyle service for this demonstration, but you can actually use any other cloud provider to follow along. So Bitwarden is basically a freemium open source password management solution that actually allows you to store your sensitive information. That information can be your website login credentials, it can be your social media login credentials, or even your banking and credit card information. So it's basically a solution that actually gives you a single point where you can store all of your sensitive information. It's a solution that even helps you to protect yourself from mistakes that usually result in ransomware attacks. So the first thing we need to do is we need to deploy a Linux Ubuntu instance. So sign in or create an Amazon account and open up the Lifestyle service. Click on the Create Instance button to actually open up the instance creation wizard. So when the wizard opens up, the first thing you can do is to change the region where your instance is actually located. Click on the OS Only button and select the Linux Ubuntu 20.04 image. Choose the $10 plan, and on the Identify Your Instance section, type in a name for the instance. So in my case, I'm just going to be calling it Bitwarden server, and then click on the Create Instance button. So once the instance has been created, copy the public IP address for the instance and open up the Amazon Route 53 service. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to create an A record that points to the instance that we've actually just created. So click on hosted zones and click on any hosted zone for any one of your registered domain names that are in Route 53. And then on the record name field, you need to type in the host name for the server. So in my case, it's going to be Bitwarden server. And then on the value field, you need to paste in the public IP address for the instance and then click on the Create Records button. So go back to the Amazon Lifestyle service and then on the Connect tab, just click on the Download Default Key button to download the key file that actually allows you to connect to the instance via SSH. So I'm just going to rename this file to bitwardenkey.pem. And then you just need to open up your terminal program if you're using Mac or Linux, and then change your working directory to the downloads directory. So the first thing you need to do is to change the permissions of the file to read-only. So just run the command chmod 400 and then type in the file name for the keypad file. And then to connect to the instance via SSH, just run the command sshi, append the file name for the keypad file, type in the username at the public IP address for the instance. And then if you're prompted, just type in yes and press the enter. So once you've actually connected to the instance via SSH, the first thing you need to do is to run the command sudo su. So that will actually change you to the root user account. And the first thing you need to then do is to set a custom hostname. So run the command hostnamectl, set hostname, then type in your custom hostname. So in my case, it's going to be Bitwarden server. And then you need to also edit the host configuration file. And you also need to specify your custom host name. So I'm just going to type in Bitwarden server in this host configuration file. So press Ctrl O, press Enter, and then press Ctrl X to exit out of the file. And then finally, run the command apt update to install essential system and package updates. And then once your package update process is complete, we then need to reboot the instance for all of the changes to take effect. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to download and install the Docker Community Edition, and then we're also going to install some essential system dependencies. So reconnect to the server via SSH, and then once you've actually reconnected, you then need to change to root again. So just run the command sudo su. Once you've actually changed to root, there's a document that I've actually prepared that contains all of the commands you need to run. So click on the link in the video description to also gain access to this document. So just copy and paste the first command, which actually installs essential system dependencies that we actually need for this installation. So just copy and paste and press enter. Next, you need to run a command that will actually add the Docker Community Edition GPG keys to your Ubuntu server. So just copy and paste that command and press enter. And then next, you then need to then add a repository for the Docker Community Edition. So just copy and paste that command and press enter. And then finally, you then need to run the command apt update so that Ubuntu is aware of the existence of that Docker repository. So just clear your screen and then type in apt update. So once the update process is complete, I am then going to paste in a command to then install the Docker Community Edition. So the installation is now in progress. So whilst it's in progress, I'm just going to copy the next command, which will actually install Docker Compose. So that's actually the next package that we're going to install once the Docker installation is complete. So just paste in the command and press enter. Type in Y and press enter. So next, we're going to create a Bitwarden directory within the ops directory. So just copy and paste the command once the Docker Compose installation is complete. So paste that command in and press enter. And then we're going to change our working directory to the Bitwarden directory. So again, copy and paste that command and press enter. Next, we're going to create a new user named Bitwarden. So just paste in that command. So it's actually asking for a password. So I'm just going to type in any password. And then it's asking us to repeat the password. And then, okay. So it's asking us to set a custom name for the user. So I'm just going to call this user Bitwarden again. It's asking for a room number, a work phone. It's also asking for a home phone. And I'm just going to type in YE and press enter. So we've actually created a user account named Bitwarden. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the file permissions for the Bitwarden directory. And finally, we're going to change the owner of the Bitwarden directory to the Bitwarden user that we've actually just created. And then we're then going to allow Bitwarden to actually run and issue out Docker commands. So let me just check the owner of the Bitwarden directory. And then I am then going to run the command to give the Bitwarden user access to create and provision Docker containers and pull Docker images. So I'm just going to change to the Bitwarden user that I've actually just created. So just run the command su bitwarden. So once you've actually changed to this user, you then need to then download the Bitwarden installation script. So just copy and paste that command to download the script. So as you can see, if you run the command lsl, you actually see the bitwarden.sh file. So next, you need to run the command bitwarden.sh and specify the install parameter. So it's actually now asking me for a domain name. So I'm going to set the domain name to bitwardenserver.mydomainname.com. So once you've actually typed in your domain name, press enter. And then it's actually going to ask you if you want to use Let's Encrypt. So just type in Y and press enter. So on the email address, I'm just going to be typing in one of my email addresses. And then I'm then going to press enter after that. Okay. So as you can see, it's actually now pulling it's actually pulling the setbot image. And then once the image process is complete, it's actually now issuing out the Let's Encrypt SSL certificate. So next, we're being prompted to create a database. So I'm just going to call this database Vault. Okay. Okay, so now it's pulling the Bitwarden image. And once the pull process is complete, it should give us a few other prompts that we need to respond to. So it's asking us for an installation ID. So copy that URL, open up a new browser tab, and paste in that URL. So you need to type in an email address on the email input field. And as you can see, we've been given an installation ID and key. So copy and paste the installation ID, and then copy and paste the installation key. So just paste that in and press enter. Okay, so the installation is now in progress, and the next thing we need to do is we need to run the command bitwarden.sh start. So just paste in that command and press enter. So that should now complete the installation. As you can see, it's now pulling a few images, it's pulling MySQL, it's pulling a few other essential images that are needed for this installation. Okay, and then it's actually installing a web server. It's actually going to be installing the Nginx web server in this case. Alright, so the installation is now complete. So copy that URL and then open up a new web browser tab. So I'm just going to paste that URL in to gain access to the Bitwarden web-based interface. So this is the interface for the server. So the first thing you need to do is to create a sort of like an administrator or master user account. So I'm just going to type in a password, which is sort of like my master password, and then retype in that master password. You need to make sure that this password is a secure password, because it's going to be the password that controls access to all of the other accounts and credentials that you're going to store in your Bitwarden server. So, but it's giving me an error. So you see it's failed to fetch. So let me just go back. Okay, before I go back to the terminal, I need to open up HTTPS port 443. So open up the IPv4 file for your instance, and then you need to open up HTTPS port 443. And then you need to run the command bitwarden.sh update self. And you also need to then run the command bitwarden.sh update. So once you've actually run through these two commands, let me just go back to the web browser and then retry to create the master or administrator user account. So let me type in a secure password, and then let me just retype the password again, and then I'm just going to set the password hint and then click on the create account button. Okay, so as you can see, we've now successfully created a master username and master password for the master account actually. So I'm actually now logging into the account now, and we've actually successfully logged into the Bitwarden server. So from here, you can then start to add login credentials. You can add credit card details, identity information, and the like into your Bitwarden server. So you now have a central store to save all of your credentials. I hope this tutorial has been informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.